Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster is coming out, and I have not seen anything about the game, like as far as like changes or anything like that that they're doing to the game. So I'm kind of curious. I seen this and wanted to, watch it on stream. Just kind of maybe inform me a little bit more about some of the changes that they're going to be making to the game. Because I'm a huge fan of FF Tactics, and loved playing it on PS1. I vaguely remember the Game Boy Advance version, but it was more of a like chibi style game, if I remember correctly. Not really chibi, but like more like cartoonish or manga style. It looked more childlike, and so I didn't really get into that one. But I did play the PS1 version a lot, and such a fucking hard ass game. I remember raging over it so bad. But so I am excited for, this remaster to come out. So I just want to figure out, kind of see what all's going on, see what all kind of changes they're going to make and whatnot. So let's just go and get into it.
It's been a minute since we had enough information to compile into a Final Fantasy Tactics The Evil East Chronicles news roundup, but now we do. Some of the most notable, random battles may be gone, and there's some new map nodes on the map, and we might have a few more new jobs that we can select at the Warrior Recruitment Center. We're going to talk about all of that and a fair bit more in today's video. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman, and welcome back to the channel. Hello everyone, if you enjoy what I do, including my ongoing coverage of everything news related about Final Fantasy Tactics The Evil East Chronicles leading up to its September 30th release, then a like on this video and a subscription to the channel would be very much appreciated. Thank you so much. So yes, there's a nice little bit of information to talk about today, as well as just some nice, interesting background about some of the development of some of the characters, as well as some newly shared high-quality concept art from Matsuno himself on Twitter, which is a fun little thing as well. We'll talk about that at the end. But for the big news, we have some information about how the map is going to function and quality of life features that have been made to it. And of course, you might be thinking to yourself, how many changes could a map get in a remaster of a 30-year-old game? Well, there's actually a fair bit. On top of what we...
Oh god, don't say that. Oh god. 30-year-old game. Oh my god, no. These guys have got to quit stating how old these games are. Jesus Christ.
We learned previously about being able to just select a location from a menu and essentially have your characters instantly warp there to reduce travel time on the map, which can be quite annoying at times. We have now seen that there are actually new map nodes for certain fights during the story. For those of you who are familiar with the way the original game played, there were certain battles, such as in Gaug when you would go to recruit Mustadio, that would actually essentially function as an ambush. You would go into the city, get a cutscene, talk with some characters, and then there would be no new red node on the map to indicate a battle, which was weird. And then you would try to leave and you would get jumped. This could become a problem when you maybe weren't prepared for the fight to come, couldn't buy the equipment that you wanted to, or grind levels if you needed to, etc. So it seems that the way that this game is going to get around that is by actually adding a new node on the map connected to the original node that will allow you to traverse to said battle. Obviously, for those of us who know the game inside and out, all these fights are something we will probably have already prepared for kind of subconsciously before we even get.
I'm not gonna lie, this UI, like the redone UI for this, looks so much better. Like very, very clean. Oh my god. I cannot wait for this game to come out.
To them, but for new players, this could help prevent some feel bads, especially if they're playing on higher difficulties, that kind of make them feel like their save is bricked.
They're adding difficulty. If I remember correctly, there was no difficulty settings for this game. There was just, the game itself. And so to see that they're going to add like difficulty levels to it is very interesting. I wonder if that means they're going to try and make it a little bit easier for people if they want that option. That would be interesting, I guess, because I remember the game being very difficult. It was a very hard game, especially with like the scaling, like everything kind of like, scaled to your level. So that made it, have its own like challenge to it.
even if all they really have to do is change some strategies around. I'm really happy that this is actually a thing, as not only is it just going to smooth out the overall gameplay experience, it shows that the rebuilt map is a lot more flexible than anything that they would have been able to use directly ported over from the original releases of the game. And if we put our spin foil hats on for a second, could also imply the addition of new map nodes for entirely new secret content that hasn't been dropped. Of course, that is just complete copium, but I think it would be a cool way to actually have the ability to add new things like that, such as, for example, however it is that they're going to be incorporating Cloud into the game earlier, as they have said that they're going to do. Whether that will be with new story battles or new encounters with Aerith or the like, I imagine that it could be done using these new map nodes. We've also heard, and note this is not one that I've been able to directly confirm for myself as it comes from Japanese screenshots, but supposedly as you're traversing the map, wherever you would have previously been able to find a potential random battle, such as like the Aragwe Woods, for example, you can now select look for battle, or like a fight option essentially, to grind or do just random battles wherever you would like. This is honestly really nice if it's the path that they're going, and I think it strikes a little bit of a
because I remember there was times in the game where I was just trying to get from one place to the next just so I can get to the next story beat, and then you get thrown into random battle and it completely just fucking wrecks you, because some of those random battles were hard as shit, especially like in the later game. Like I prayed that I would not get random battles, just so that way I didn't get like, because if you level, like in the original game, I remember like when you level up, if you level up, then you've got to, invest, money into new equipment, yada, 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 to keep yourself relevant. And if you didn't have the money to do that, you basically handicapped yourself and made the game even harder than what it already was. So that, like, giving people the option to opt into those battles is a major bonus.
Better balance than Tactics Ogre Reborn did. So you can actually go in and say, okay, I really want to look for a specific monster, or just train in a familiar area like the Mandalia Plains, and just choose to battle over and over, rather than having to run back and forth between different nodes trying to trigger a battle, which could sometimes take a long time if the RNG decides, no, I'm not going to give you a battle today. On the flip side, it also explains why we're able to use the map features to just teleport to whatever node we've already unlocked, as well. You would just be able to get around random battles like that, right? You can just choose to go and do a battle whenever and wherever you would like. This is also great just because, like, yeah, maybe sometimes you need to go to a castle town so you can buy some new swords and armor, and having to deal with the possibility of running into 3 random battles along the way.
I vaguely remember that there was a random battle that popped up, and like, in the last story fight, I had lost a lot of my like recruited companions, and so sorry, and so I was trying to get to a town to buy more recruits so I could have my full team back, and I got into a random fight, and it was just there was like a crap ton of enemies on the map, and of course it led to me being stuck in a never-ending spiral of constantly being able to, or not being able to, get to be able to build my team back up. It soft locked me in that. And I had to completely reset my game. And I was like halfway through the game at that point. It is a terrible feeling. Like, so to see something like this is a major breath of fresh air.
Either going through all of those or quitting the game, reloading your save, and just trying to get there in a timely fashion could just be a massive time waster. So I think this is going to be a pretty good balance overall. I'm sure there's going to be people that are annoyed by the removal of random battles because it's just one of those classic features, but overall, I think it will make for a much smoother gameplay experience, which is definitely the goal nowadays. Speaking of map features, we do finally have a little bit more insight into some of the other facilities in towns, such as shops, the Warrior Recruitment Center, and the Tavern. We've seen bits and pieces of the shop before, and it seems like it's pretty much exactly as you would expect. You'll be able to go through, look at the gear that's available, use the fitting room to put stuff on characters to immediately buy it, all that fun stuff. I haven't seen anything particularly different there, and it has been pointed out that different types of towns will still have different types of equipment, so you will still need to move around and be smart about where you go to get the gear that you need. It's also been stated that, just like in the original game, progressing through the story is how you will unlock new tiers of gear at each shop, but we don't know if any of that's been rebalanced or if new items have been added. That we will have to see. What's of more interest to me is the Tavern and the Warrior Recruitment Center. The Tavern was called out as a place where you can go and read rumors, get more background lore about the game world, etc., etc. But I'm wondering if there might be some new features there that we haven't been introduced to yet, due to the fact that we already have a whole new system, the State of the Realm, to talk about what's going on in the world. Maybe taverns are where you'll go to get the most up-to-date information, and that'll unlock it in the State of the Realm. I don't know.
I would imagine they would just
to see how those two things are kind of going to interlock with each other.
I would feel that they're more than likely they're just going to transition, the State of the Realm thing, which is literally just a giant lore dump, is really all it is. If you really want to go for that, I would imagine they're just trying to take that out of the tavern UI, or that, the tavern experience, and just kind of make it its own thing. So that way it creates less bloat in the tavern type of environments. That would be my general guess, is they're just trying to remove some of the bloat from certain areas and move it to a different one. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
We've also gotten a little bit of information from director My Hero from a new, relatively light on information PlayStation Sony article, where he talks about the errands system, as it's actually one of the features that he was placed in charge of as a young newbie to the team way back in the day. He said that he kind of designed it in a rush because he wanted it to be a system that was a little bit more fleshed out than just the rumors that were already existent in the game, so designed it as a way for players to get a little bit of extra XP and JP and learn more about the world in the process by helping people out with odd jobs, which is exactly what you did. Now, though, it's being described as more of a small mini-game with an overhauled UI and more in-depth, revitalized locations and treasures. Now, this could just mean that, the still image art of various different weapons and treasure and locations that your characters would find on these missions have just been brought up to a modern standard. But the wording also leaves it open that we could actually be seeing a little bit of a more in-depth mechanical system with these odd jobs and errands that you can go on. We'll have to see, of course, that's just my speculation, but based on the wording...
Don't get me wrong. I think the whole errand, I think that's what he called it, the errand system or whatever. I can see that being beneficial in some ways, but I don't know. I think it's just one of those things where it's just more meaningless crap for somebody to do if they really want to go for it. I'll see what it's like when the game comes out. I don't know. We'll see how I feel about it then. But from hearing that, it's just one of those things like I'm probably not really going to care too much about it.
I feel like it's at least possible that these might be a little bit more than dedicate 3 characters to a job, you'll see them in 8 days, good luck. Hopefully that's the case, because it always felt like it was a little bit of a missed opportunity to flesh those out more. Now, next up, and this is the big one, they've talked about the Warrior Recruitment Center a little bit, and for those of you who don't know, the Warrior Recruitment Center is a place that you would go to recruit new random squires to add to your team if you lost a character, or you just wanted to recruit someone for a specific role, or if you wanted to ditch all of the original recruits that you get at the beginning of the game and re-roll to try and get recruits with better stats to then build off of from there. This was really only a location that would commonly see use at the very beginning of the game, because the time it takes to develop a character in the overall campaign is so intensive that you really wouldn't want to bother recruiting a random level 1 to level 3 squire and building them all back up all over again. Now, though, it seems like that might be a little bit less of a case. We've gotten 2 screenshots of the recruitment center thus far. One shows a revitalized menu that has a whole cadre of different squires, male and female, that you can choose from to bring into your party, which is great because it'll actually show you a selection of different characters with different stats.
If they make the recruitment center scaled to the average level of your party, that would be fucking phenomenal. I would love that, because then it'll eliminate that waste of time, recruiting somebody, then you got to level them up and you got to get them caught up with everybody else. That would be fucking amazing. I'm not gonna lie, that'd be such a huge time saver.
So you can find what it is that you're looking for. It feels very much like recruiting characters in Tactics Ogre Reborn, which is nice. This way you're not just constantly re-rolling through, nope, I don't like that character, no, I don't like that character, no, I don't like that character, like you were forced to do before. Again, smooths out the process. However, there's another screenshot that was attached to the post discussing the recruitment center, and that's this one here, where we can clearly see a knight is being recruited. And that is different. It looks like we're actually potentially, maybe rarely, or maybe just increasing.
I think I might know. Now, again, it's speculation, but there might be like certain recruitment centers that will let you recruit specific classes. So like, for example, say you visit like a village that's in the middle of the jungle. Maybe they might have archers that you can get. Maybe you go to a castle city and there's knights you can recruit, or a normal village will have squires, that kind of thing. If they do that, I think that'd be very interesting, to where it's not just about, hey, thanks for the follow. But yeah, no, I think that, adding actual classes to the tavern recruits would be a phenomenal thing. And I think that, and couple that with the fact that maybe that there are Bollywood movie trailer. I don't know. I don't know jack shit about Bollywood, and nor do I really care, to be honest. It's not really my thing, man. Sorry. But yeah, no, I think this would be an amazing thing.
Over the course of the story, who knows, going to be able to find more and more advanced jobs at potentially higher and higher levels to make it easier to replace fallen characters or expand your army.
Right.
Given the fact that the roster size has been bumped all the way up to 50 from the original, 16, that was bumped to
50?
24 in War of the Lions, it makes a lot of sense that they'll make it a little bit easier
crazy
to find new different characters with their own already semi-built jobs to help fill that roster out. I love this. There's obviously no idea at the moment of how you're going to unlock these new jobs in these warrior recruitment centers, if you're going to have to get the job unlocked first and then they'll start showing up, or if it's story locked or something, who knows. But I think this could be a really cool way to actually let you build your army up a bit more and use more of these characters, especially if it's also going to be easier to find battles and grind and all that good stuff. We've learned now as well that there is a stratagems for battle system in the game, presumably as part of the State of the Realm and the tutorial, which will actually give you some basic tips from the developers on strategy to help ease you into the game. Something that, while sort of present with Daravan's teachings in the tutorial in the original, was not very intuitive, especially with how butchered Daravan's words were in the original translation of FFT. So I imagine this is going to be a little bit of a more fleshed out system, maybe with some even, I don't know, visual demonstrations, little in-game videos of things in action to give you a visual reference, which I think is going to be great for new players who don't want to immediately turn to people like myself on YouTube to get whatever information that they're able to glean from the type of stuff that we make. Being able to keep that in-game and focused for players who just want to get locked in is awesome and is a great design choice for helping new players get into what is potentially a very difficult game for them. Finally, as I mentioned at the top of the video, Mr. Matsuno has actually been going through and posting a lot of the original concept art for some of FFT's most famous characters with little bits of information about them that we've maybe seen from original images that people have taken blurry pictures of and posted on the internet, but never actually seen in proper full digital glory before, as far as I'm aware.
That's kind of cool.
He's posted Argath.
I've never really been much for when they post original concept art or just posting concept art in general. I've never really been much into it. I don't know. That's just my thing. Yeah, no, it's cool that they do it, and it's kind of cool to see it sometimes, but it's not something I actively seek out or whatever. So, I mean, if you like it, that's cool. If not, then whatever.
He's posted Ovelia, he's posted Ramza and Agrias, and it's just a fun little look into what these characters started life as before you see what they kind of finally became by the full release of the game. In particular, Mr. Matsuno talked a little bit about the development of Elmdor's design, calling out the fact that people have directly, obviously, compared him to Sephiroth in a lot of ways, with the sort of suave look, the long flowing silver hair, the dark clothing, but he says, ironically, this was not an intentional comparison of design. FFT and FF7 were being designed and built pretty much simultaneously, and there wasn't a lot of overlap between the two teams, so by the time they'd really locked in on Elmdor's design, Sephiroth hadn't even been shown to the original team yet. They just wanted a character that would sort of look like a vampire, like Alucard from Symphony of the Night or that type of thing. Yep. And it's just a happy coincidence that there was two pretty boy, white-haired, kind of vampire demon-esque looking villains in two different Final Fantasy games that were being produced at the same time. It's really cool to get little tidbits of information like this about the development of the game, and really fun to see what these characters looked like before they came into their own right with the versions that we know now. And that, my friends, is all the currently updated information that I've been able to find about Final Fantasy.
To be fair, I think a lot of especially like for this generation of games, like a lot of vampire characters, yeah, they pretty much all kind of look the same. You know, white hair, tall, suave, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, it was back then. It was kind of hard not to make a character look like that, because I mean, if you look at characters like that, and then Sephiroth, and then Alucard, you know, those kind of characters in general, they were all pretty much the same thing. I mean, let's be honest.
Fantasy Tactics, the Evil East Chronicles. If there's something that you have seen or heard that I have not mentioned in this video or previous videos, do please feel free to let me know in the comments here, or shoot me a DM on Discord if you would like, so that I can cover it in the next version of this video. We're coming up pretty quick on the release of FFT, the Evil East Chronicles, barely over 2 months away at time of recording, and I can't wait to see what else we learn leading up to that release. For now, though, my name has been Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman.
No,
Thank you all so much for watching.
Like,
I hope you all have a good night. Stay.
So yeah, no, I've been trying not to like watch too much about this game, just because, I mean, I like to be a little bit surprised, but then again, at the same time, I do want to kind of know like what changes they've made to it. So it's like a double-edged sword kind of. So I don't know, but I think it's a matter of wait and see. We're getting pretty close to it coming out. I think it comes out in August, if I remember correctly. So yeah, no, I'm very excited about this. This was a good video. Learned a lot of stuff that I did not know about this game. So I'm really excited about it. So I'll go ahead and link it in chat, and you guys can, you know, give it a like, give it a sub, whatever, comment, you know, all that good jazz. But yeah, no, very good video. I enjoyed that one. I might actually, I'll go ahead and I'll do my due diligence and do my part, you know. Good video. But yeah, no, I do think that some of the changes, I think the biggest thing for me is no more random encounters on the maps, like the open maps. I think that is such a good idea, and to make it optional to be able to engage in those fights is an amazing thing. And then, you know, mix that with like the recruitment centers might have like classes in certain recruitment centers. I think that is also a really great thing, as well as the recruitments that are kind of like scaled up, so that way you don't have to spend all that time trying to level them from one. So like, especially like later in the game and you start losing a lot of your recruiters or a lot of your soldiers or whatever, like especially later in the game when you're like, I don't know, like say you're like level 20, 30 or whatever, go from like to level like a brand new one from 1 to like 20 or so. It takes so long, because then you have to prioritize and make sure that they are the ones getting the experience. They're the ones getting the kills. And it becomes so fucking mind-numbingly tedious that it deters you from the entire game, like in and of itself. So that to me, I think is really cool. So, and then couple that with like a lot of the UI changes and stuff. I think this UI looks fucking phenomenal. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's very beautiful looking UI, and so I'm excited about this one. And I think if I remember correctly, they said they were gonna have like fully voiced dialogue, I think. So that'll be kind of cool. Less reading I have to do because I'm fucking lazy, I'll be honest. So, but yeah, no, this is a good video.